Today we have a Marantz 6110. Let's pop this cover off. Not sure. Yeah. It's a big old splotch there on the cover. We'll see if we can clean that cover up a little bit better. Assuming we can verify this is working or get it working or whatever we have to do. So let's check out what's going on with this. Get my test record. Let's get something different today. I use that one. All right. Elton John's Greatest Hits. A very water-logged Elton John's Greatest Hits. Just the next test record in line. So, all right. It's on 33. Cosmetically, this is okay. It's got the veneer pulling up in different spots, but overall pretty good. All right. Tonearm is up. Oh, the Tonearm needs to be damped, so we're going to do that for sure on this one. So what I mean by that is the Tonearm drops really fast. Right? It doesn't glide into position. It just drops. So there's some silicone damping fluid that you put on the Tonearm elevator. We'll flip this over and do that. I've done it a bunch of times on these. I haven't done it for a while though, so it may take me a little bit to remember how to do it. But let's see. So yeah, that needs to be addressed. Let's see if the auto return works, and it seems to work. Connect this to my test stereo here and see if we get sound. Since we're going to flip it over, see if we get some kind of sound out of it. Yep. Yep. Sound out of both channels, so that's good. It's missing the anti-skate weight. I don't think I have one handy, so we'll check the speed. I don't have my phone with me. We'll check the speed after we do the damping of the Tonearm. I'll have to run inside and get it. So pop this belt off. So this will need kind of a general service as well. I'll speed through that. And what I mean by the general service is I will speed through cleaning this up, and that actually feels pretty good. But since we're going to have the bottom open, I'll pop that open and see what's going on with that. So anyway, on to popping the bottom off of this and taking a look at the inside. So here's what we're going to be working with. Here's the Tonearm elevator. And there's a C-clip and a spring that has to be removed from underneath this post here. And I don't remember on this if there's something I have to do up here or not. I think I just need to be able to move this out of position maybe. Oh, there's a screw on the side of this. So if I remember correctly, remove this screw to pop the elevator guide here off, and then, but I still think the Tonearm elevator comes out through the bottom. So anyway, I'm going to remove this, flip it over, mess with the Tonearm elevator, kind of figure out what needs to be removed so I can put some damping fluid on that. So maybe I was thinking about the 6100 because it appears that I can pull this up enough to put the damping fluid into the little channel and redamp it from up top, which is if this does it, this is much easier than pulling that C-clip off, risking it going flying because it's spring loaded. To apply the damping fluid, I don't use the cotton portion of the cotton swab. I just break it off and then I use the wooden portion. I don't want any cotton falling off. And I use 300,000 weight silicone oil. I bought this off of eBay or off of Amazon, I think. Well, one of the two, Amazon or eBay. So let's see if we can do this without completely disassembling that. And how much you put on it, the service manual will say, and it will give a very exact amount. I don't have a way to measure that, so I just kind of eyeball it. So let's pull this up a little bit, get some damping fluid or damping oil. Again, I don't put a lot on it. I do it in increments. So, and this stuff will get all over everything. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to get some of that damping fluid down into that channel. I may have to use that screwdriver or something with a very, very fine tip to get down there. And again, I may have to tear this whole thing apart. I don't know. We're going to see what this does. Maybe just a little bit more and see if that slows it down. I want to wipe this off because, man, you get this stuff on your hands and it's, whoops, get this stuff on your hands and it's pretty nasty. All right. Well, that's already slowed it down quite a bit. Clean this off, and I do want to see if I can pull that up and spin it, which I should be able to. I want to just evenly kind of distribute that, that fluid, that oil, like so, and it has slowed it down quite a bit. Pop this back on. So this elevator guide, this little metal rod slips into that little shaft there. Let me clean that off with my screwdriver. And pop the head shell back on. And let's see how much that slows it down. This is covered in nicotine. I want to set this somewhat level. You know what, I'm going to have to set this back on the base real quick. The feet partially block the screws that attach this to the bottom, and they did not want to come out, so but now they want to come out because I have to flip this over and they want to go flying all over my garage floor. These two are they're stuck in there, so I won't worry about those for right now. What I want to do is make sure this is level. I don't want it to sit weird. There we go. Just want to get this good enough to where I can see how slowly that arm drops now. Okay, it's in the up position and nice and slow. Might be a little too slow. But I don't know what the tracking is supposed to be set for this cartridge. Let me, this is set really, really light. So I'm doing kind of a poor man's tracking force alignment or setting. I'm going to put it at 1.5 just to see if that does it. Yeah, it's I may have put just a little bit too much damping fluid or damping oil there. No, actually that would drop in about 3 seconds, which is kind of where it's slow enough, but it's not too slow. Let me put the record on and see, and we'll time it. Let's see, so that's, the queuing arm is up. I'm going to have to move adjust the elevator guide just a little bit. All right, so that's about, that might be a little high. It's about maybe 12 millimeters or so. I think most of these are, you want to set a gap of like 10 millimeters between the bottom of the stylus and the record. So let's see, we're going to flip it and count. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Perfect. So that was easy. That was great. Because I did not want to have to pull that apart. I got a little bit of silicone I got to clean off of that. Right there. That's it. That was awesome. I like the ones where the plan. It's the ones where you have to dismantle everything to do whatever it is you want to do that are pretty frustrating. Alright, so that's the damping the tone arm on this. Now let's take a look at, whoops, let's take a look at should just be one screw kind of holding that in under. Take that out. Yeah, it's one screw. Real soft metal on these screws, so you got to be careful to not strip them. But I'm going to remove the set screw, or the screw that kind of locks the spindle into place. So I'm going to remove that, drop the spindle down. I can't tell if there's a bearing in there or not. I don't know if that's not the bottom of the spindle, so there might be a ball bearing sitting on top of that. But anyway, unscrew that, try to catch underneath if the bearing falls. We'll clean that out and lube it. And then probably just clean this up and work on the dust cover. And I want to do a speed check. Yep, I got to go grab my phone to do a speed check as well. So we'll do that after we kind of get it cleaned up. The shop actually got this from a guy who services his own equipment, and this has been lubed recently. That's not old, and if it's old, it'll stink. And you can see where he cleaned up some of the black lube out of there. So I don't think I want to do anything with this. I'm going to pop that back in there, and I thought it felt like it was moving pretty easy. So, and this came out with very little effort. This screw, I just wanted to make sure I had the right screwdriver size, and this has been freshly greased with, it doesn't have the 40-year-old brown hardened grease there, so it looks like that's been lubed recently as well. Just cosmetically, it's a little dirty. So I'm going to put the bottom back on, grab my phone, we'll do a speed check, see where the speed is on this. It sounded a little fast to my ears, but we'll see how fast it is. So anyway, I'll button this up, grab the phone, do a speed check, and then we'll get it cleaned up and move it on down the road. I wanted to take advantage of cleaning this while I had the platter off. And I got most of that golden glow off of the head shell. I do have to see what kind of cartridge this is, though. I want to see what the actual tracking force should be. I can't tell. It looks like it's an Empire, maybe. It says Osawa. I'm not sure what Osawa is, so... And I'm not sure what it's supposed to be set to. So I may have to do a little bit of research, figure out what's going on with that. Let me grab a roll of tape. Put this in. Get my RPM meter up here. See how close we are. Yeah, I thought it sounded fast. So 34.52. That's definitely fast. But let's make sure that it's sitting in the right position. Yeah, 34.5. So what will cause this to run fast? Most likely the belt is not the correct size. It's either too tight or it's too wide. Right? So on these, yeah, no, not on this one. There is, however, I don't know. The spindle here is it's clean. So now the interesting thing about, I'm going to walk over here and grab some, I have a couple of belts. The interesting thing about these Marantz, I think the 6100s, the 6100s, the 6200s, they were made by a company called CEC, and CEC made turntables for other manufacturers as well. I'm pretty sure this is a CEC manufactured turntable. So they made them for like Yamaha, and so like a Yamaha YP211 or a Yamaha YPB4 or B2, one of their belt-driven turntables, they use the same belts. So I actually have a Yamaha YP211 belt. I'm just kind of guessing that this is the same size. So we're going to compare these two. So, yeah, see the Yamaha, well, no, the Yamaha, it's the same size, same width. So let's see, this is the old belt. I'm going to put the Yamaha belt on there and see what happens with the speed. And then what I may have to do is work on the spindle. I do have other belts I can try as well. I have other belts because, you know, the problem is they haven't made these belts. The manufacturers haven't made these belts in a long time. So when you buy them off of eBay or Amazon or wherever you get them, you don't know how close to, yeah, see, this one's even worse, how close to original specification the belts are. So that one actually made it worse. I'm going to go on a little bit of a fishing expedition. I have several several belts of different sizes. I'm going to go see if I can find one that a little more closely matches this belt, and I'll be back. So as mentioned, you're kind of running the risk when you buy these belts off of eBay. So the other belt was from the same seller, and that belt was for a YP211. So this one on the right is for a YP211, but you can see how it's actually longer, right, than this belt. So this one, there will be less tension on it, and we'll see what happens with the speed if I put this one on it. But it's just interesting that same seller, belt for the same turntable, bought at the same time. Looks to be a little bit larger, but it actually feels tighter on here, so who knows. We'll see what happens. Yeah, 34.8, a little bit better than the last one I put on it, but still not good enough. All right. Back to the belts. I may have identified the issue. So when you're trying to dial in the speed on these, if you have a belt that's not the right size, you can apply like nail polish to increase the diameter of this spindle. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's actually a pink, looks like nail polish on this spindle here. So increasing that diameter, if I remember right, increasing that diameter speeds up the platter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some, I got to get into my sandpaper box here. I'm going to take some, I'll start off with a pretty high grit sandpaper. May or may not take that off. I'm going to take some 2000 grit sandpaper, a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to run the motor and remove some of that nail polish. So let's see. I may have to go to like a 600. It's starting to come off a little bit. Oh, there it comes. You know, I could also use a razor blade, kind of scrape it off. You can kind of hear how it was clumpy. Yep, just falling right off of there. All right, I'm gonna forward through this while I get this figured out. There was quite a bit of nail polish on that. So I think I was able to get most of it. And the thing is, I can always reapply. I'm kind of glad it was pink, because if it was clear, then you're kind of sitting here like, oh, what do I do? But, you know, the solution's kind of the same. You know, if you try half a dozen belts and they're not, you know, if it's running too fast, you're going to have to remove, or you're going to have to get like the perfect belt, which is almost impossible, or you're going to have to remove just a little bit of material off of that spindle. So let's see what that does. So look at that, 33.23. 33.21, so it's running just a tad bit slow. And since I know that we gained a little bit of speed with one of the other belts that I had in the package, I may put that one back on. I mean, 33.23 is probably not even going to be something you can tell with your ears. But just for the hell of it, I'm going to see what this other belt does, how close it gets us. Let's see. I bet it'd be 33.3 once, because it was doing the auto return. So 33.4, yeah, 47, 48. And you know, like on a cassette deck, it's less noticeable if it runs a little bit fast. So running faster is better than running slower on these turntables. So, although 33.2 is well within 1%, which you're probably not going to hear. All right, so, well, that was good. It was kind of interesting to work through that problem. Something different for one of these. So I'm going to put the old belt back on. Whether it's 33.4 or 33.2, and what I will do, which will probably, well, which may help with the speed, is who knows when this motor was lubed last. I will drop, oh, maybe there aren't lube points on there. I will drop just a little bit down underneath here, just to drop, get that in there. Then as it runs, it'll kind of at least lube that top bearing. Cool. All right, so on to working on the dust cover. I need to find my belt. There it is. So I'm just going to speed through that. I'm going to do the same procedure I do. This one I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. I'm not going to try to get this perfect. This is definitely a turntable that's worth more money. You know, if this were a 6300, well, if it were 6300, I'd probably just buy a replacement turntable or a dust cover for it. But I will hit this with some 2000 grit sandpaper, 3000, 5000, hit it with the 3 polishing compounds that I use, and see how much better we can make this dust cover look, and then I can deliver it to the shop. So I always put a Velcro strap on these, even though it comes with the original one, and it's I go through so many items. If I see a Velcro strap, it means that I know for sure that I went through it. If it doesn't, it means it's been sitting in the shop for a while and I did not look at it. So I always throw one of my Velcro straps on these. So anyway, on to the dust cover. So I spent quite a bit more time on this one than I normally do. One thing I noticed was that, you know, the Scratch X, this Novus Fine scratch remover actually leaves a better finish than the Scratch X. So I may have to change my order of which product I use on the last pass. I spent a lot of time on that major blemish here. Got most of that gone. This is a big chip, so there's not really much I can do there. But, you know, again, on a turntable that you might be able to sell for $400 or $500 or, you know, whatever this may fetch, you want to take a little bit more time, or I usually take a little bit more time. So let me throw this on the turntable, and I'll bring it back to the bench here in a second. Show you the after it's all cleaned up. Yeah, that Novus is definitely better than Scratch X. And I did notice some swirls. I mean, there's still a couple of swirls here and there from sanding, but not, I mean, especially this spot here, because I had to hit that with 600 grit sandpaper to remove that. But I mean, much better. I think this is much better. You know, I could spend all day on this. If this was mine, maybe I would take a little bit more time to go through it, but I think this is perfectly fine. Again, under shop lighting, right, I mean, it's going to look almost spotless. And I can get my glasses on here. You can see, I mean, a couple of scratches here and there, but that is pretty clean. Nice turntable. All right, so this one is done. If you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and lots more projects coming up. So stay tuned for more content.